When I was asked to give this presentation today, they gave me kind of free rein to do whatever it was that I thought was going to be important. So I started to have lunches with people, and I started asking them, hey, what would you like to hear about in a keynote presentation at a marketing summit? And it continued to come back to this point of, how do I advance my career in marketing? Well, I've been around for 30 years, and I have learned a lot of things over that time, including having made a whole bunch of mistakes. So I'm here to talk about keys to navigating career success. And in my mind, there are 3 factors that are necessary to advance your career in marketing. 1 is try it all. 2, be an A player. And 3 is obsess over data. These are kind of duh, but we're going to go over kind of what I'm talking about for each of these. The first one is try everything on for size, but focus on growth over title. I think what I see right now as a marketing leader are there are a lot of people who are super duper focused on title. I want to be a director. I want to be a VP. But they don't really have the expertise to be at that title level. So it's interesting because marketers, we do everything, right? We do all of the things. Here's an interesting thing. We're looking for a job. Here's what the company is looking for. We want everything and everything and everything. And by the way, 6 years of experience. This has been my career path. When I first started graduating from BYU in communications, I thought it was going to be a career ladder. I thought it was just going to go straight up, and I was going to be like a press secretary for the United States of America. I thought it was going to be great. I started as an intern at the state of Utah for the office of the lieutenant governor. And I originally liked it, and then I hated it. And I thought to myself, okay, I don't want to work in government anymore. I want to work in tech. Tech was starting to boom. This was 1994. And I really wanted to break into tech. Oops, I'm on the wrong side of the stage, obviously. I really wanted to break into tech. So I approached an agency here locally, Martha Felt Group. Martha is the greatest of all time. If you don't know Martha, she does a lot of work with Westminster. P.S. I love the U, by the way. And I went in and I interviewed, and they said, you know what, we need somebody with tech experience. We're going to pass on you. It was for a coordinator job. And I said, I want this so badly. I will volunteer to work here for 3 months. And if you like me, I want you to hire me. And they took me up on it. So that is actually how I got my big break into tech. I went from the Martha Felt Group, having worked there for a couple years, to Broder Porter Novelli, another PR agency. Really cut my teeth there as an account executive, managing a bunch of different accounts. Kind of an also ran there. Then Ancestry approached. We're starting up our PR department. Will you come and help us? And I was like, heck yeah, I will do that all day long. Got to do really amazing things very early on in my career. Got the Today anchors to do their genealogy and have pieces on the Today Show. Got to do my first analyst tour with the CEO. So really big, huge opportunities to learn and grow. It was also kind of that big tech boom, 98-ish. So I was exhausted. We were working like 24 hours a day to try to get these amazing things done. And then Novell came knocking and said, hey, we want you to come run our internal comms and community relations. It was kind of a narrowing of focus for me. And I thought, is this what I really want to do with my career? Something that really focuses and specializes. But I decided to take the chance and do it. And it was really interesting for me. The CEO at the time was Eric Schmidt. And he had some challenges, to be really honest. The employees, they no likey. And he was really tough. We had a company jet. He would sit on the jet and do his work and be inside of his world, not socialize with people. They had a really, really hard time. So we originated this awesome employee survey. We got all of the data. made really informed decisions. We ended up going on a world tour so that we could get the CEO really kind of ingratiated and working with the employees and talking. And right as that was starting to go really, really well, he left to go to Google. But I'd really established that I was pretty darn good at doing programs. So they offered me a director title to run marketing programs for Novell. It was my first time then making this huge pivot into like regular marketing. I had done my degree in communications. I'd spent my entire career doing PR activities. But then I realized, hey, there's this whole other world of broader marketing. I started to learn about tech, about demand gen, about product marketing, and really cut my chops there. My boss, the CMO, left and went to this company in San Diego, asked if I'd go with him. So you see here, a lot of these moves were kind of inside of my network. And so I went to Overland Storage. I learned the hardcore in and outs of demand generation. I took a step back when I went to Dell EMC. I became an individual contributor because I wanted to have a baby. And that was something that was really important to me. So I took a step back, became an individual contributor, had a beautiful little baby. And then we decided to move to Utah. I was in San Diego at the time. We decided to move back to Utah. I got a job at Avanti. It was called Landesk back then. Brought all of my demand generation chops, my product marketing chops to that role. Recruited by RisePoint, my first time in the big chair, right? This is my first time as a CMO running all of the marketing function. It was a tiny little startup. But at that point, I grew the company from $5 million to about $15 million in revenue. It was the first time I really started focusing on growing the business as a whole and being a big leader in the company, not just on my particular marketing function. Then I continued on with a new opportunity at Instructure, another thing that came in through my network, and now my new role as the CMO at Glassbox. So you see that my career has taken all of these really weird turns, but I think that it's important to recognize that when I was at Landesk Avanti, we were a very acquisitive company, and I volunteered to sit in on those mergers and acquisitions types of motions so that I could learn more about what that was all about, and that has served me so well in my career as things have gone on. I think there are lots and lots of opportunities for you to take inside of your current role, even if it's just to approach a senior leader and say, hey, I'm really interested in mergers and acquisitions. I'm really interested in employee communications. I'm really interested in this interesting aspect. Lots of opportunities to learn and grow, and your career will be a corn maze just like mine was. This to me is interesting. This is hot off the presses. Insight Partners just released this a couple days ago. I put the QR code link here to link you out to the Insight Partners blog post. Interestingly, so Insight Venture Partners really invest. They're a PE firm that invests in companies as they're coming up prior to going public. They have other companies, and then they have their top performer companies. So you better hope that you're a top performer with them and not an other. But as they look at marketing leaders in their top performing companies, they're 78% more likely to hire leaders with demand gen backgrounds. So if you're working in marketing and you have a desire to become a CMO or an SVP of marketing or a marketing leader, head of, demand generation is going to be super duper important for you to build as a skill. They're 19% more likely to hire leaders with product marketing backgrounds. Now this is a really interesting twist. I didn't necessarily see this one coming, but it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Product marketing is sort of the hub of the wheel. Everything originates there, the personas, the messaging, the positioning, and all of the other teams really rely on that information. So interesting, 19% more likely to hire leaders with product marketing backgrounds, 12% less likely to hire leaders with brand marketing backgrounds. So if those of you in the room are in brand marketing and you really want to grow into a CMO-like role, I would heavily advocate that you start working on your chops in demand generation and/or product marketing. 34% less likely to hire leaders with prior marketing leadership backgrounds. You know what that means? They will hire people who are new into a marketing leader role as long as they're strong in these other areas. So really interesting. So next one, be an A player. So we talk about being an A player all the time. I think everybody has different philosophies about what it means to be an A player. I don't know if anybody was around and, back in the day, what was this, 2015, when Silicon Valley came out. And it was such a funny show. And this guy was the new CEO who came in with this philosophy of the conjoined triangles of success. It was very bizarre. But I think every marketing leader has their own philosophy around what it means to be really successful and have a really successful team. My friend Bassam Salem, I'm sure people in this room know Bassam. He is like an OG in the tech sector in Utah. He's awesome. He has this philosophy around a triad of skill, will, and attitude being what makes up an A player. And you can see kind of in the center of this is rock star Rhonda. This is the persona that really exemplifies someone who has the skill and the will and the attitude, and that is what makes them an A player. Talk a little bit more about this. The first factor is skill. I've got a customer life cycle up here. It's got some interesting things demarcating kind of what's brand-led and what's demand-led. I think in marketing, as a general rule, there are kind of two buckets. We've got brand people, we've got demand people. There it is, kind of a unicorn when you get a mixture of both, and it will serve you well if you become one of those people. But the factor of skill is who really knows how to do their job and do it well. They've got the skills to pay the bills, and they know what they're doing. One factor. Second factor, will. Success is achieved by ordinary people with extraordinary determination. I think that if you have the will, there will be a way. And to me, will is extraordinarily important in that triad. Perhaps the most important thing to me as a marketing leader is attitude. So there is a book, forgive my crassness, it's called The No Asshole Rule. And I think that sometimes you get these people who have the will and the skill, but they don't have the attitude. And nobody wants to work with an a-hole. So attitude for me is so important. As a matter of fact, a lot of people ask, what's the most important factor to me? And I think it's interesting. It's important for me that everybody has a portion of each of these factors available. Skill, to me, is sort of the least important because you can always teach skill to people. Will, it's harder, right? I think you either have it or you don't. And attitude, to me, is practically everything. It's got a bigger chunk of the pie chart. Again, I'm looking for a combination of all three of these factors to help me determine if I've got an A player on my hands or if I don't. If you have all three, you're an A player, you're aces. I'm going to bend over backward to make sure that you have the opportunities to excel, to grow, to be promoted, to make more money. If you have two of these, it's going to be more work for me as a leader, right? To help bring you up to, improving the skills that you have. If you've got will and attitude, I will work all day long to help beef up those skills. That way, we can get a rock star A player out of this. If somebody only has one of these factors and is missing the other two, I practically give up, right? I mean, this is not a person who I want on the team, somebody who has only one of the factors. So just know that your leaders are thinking about these kinds of elements as they're looking at your career, your opportunities, and the ways that you are going to be able to grow inside of their organization. Now, this is a total eye chart, I know. I put a QR code to link out to this, but I think this, to be honest, is kind of the money slide. This is a marketing career progression chart that I've used in multiple jobs. And as I sit down and I explain to somebody who has come to me and said, you know what, I've been here for a couple years, I have 5 years of experience, I think I deserve to be a director because I do this, and I do this, and I do this, and I've been here for 5 years. And I pull out this chart and I say, you know what, it's awesome that you've got 5 years of experience. It's just one of the factors that I take into consideration when I'm looking at promoting somebody in their career. You see all of these different factors here on the left. Job complexity. Your job's going to get way more complex the higher your title is. Are you prepared for that? Your job, you're going to have more discretion the further up you go on the ladder. Are you ready to impact, like in the vice president level, on discretion? Erroneous decisions will have a serious impact on the overall success of long-term company operations. I know you want to be a vice president. Are you ready to take on that level of responsibility? Because that is going to be the decision-making power and the impact that you're going to be able to have in that position. Same thing with scope. Your role gets much bigger as the higher up you go. KPIs, are you formulating them? Are you receiving them from someone? Are you inventing them and working cross-departmentally on those? Again, growth and scope. Interaction. Are you interacting with your peers? Are you interacting with other leaders? Are you interacting with the highest executives in the company? There's a spectrum there, and it depends on where you're landing on that. Emotional intelligence, highly underrated, I think, by a lot of organizations. I think that being able to manage your own emotions and then be able to help cultivate the emotions of others is also a spectrum. And you see increasing responsibility and skill at the higher up you go. So I think that, sometimes we see, okay, I've got 10 years of experience, really, I should be a senior director. Well, are you living up to all of the factors that are inside of this senior director column or not? I would ask myself, am I measuring up to this? What can I do to improve to get to that next level? How do I operate at that level? Then that's when I can ask for a promotion. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Last one, obsess over data. I think this is kind of a no-brainer. Everybody's completely obsessed with data all the time, particularly if you have investors in your company. They're always asking for numbers. Marketing is all about the numbers. This is a realization that I had coming into this, is like, I didn't do that great in statistics in college. I'm not that great at math. My husband is an accountant, though, and he helps me with my spreadsheets, so thank heaven for Kevin. So 2 skills of modern business: storytelling and spreadsheets. And you got to do both of them. So this is a periodic table of marketing metrics. This is just a sample. Now, this is inspired by something Insight Partners did back in 2015. But I love this, and I've used this at many, many jobs since this was originally launched by Insight. You see sort of these optimal numbers for each of these functions, numbers that the team can aspire to. So for example, our demand gen team is focusing on this kind of conversion rate and this amount of pipeline sourced by marketing. Me, this gray part for the budget, this is where I aspire to be. How do we kind of make the changes on the marketing budget in this way? Content marketing, conversion rates, uptake rates. We've got stuff on social, we've got email, SEO, SEM, and comms, share of voice. Everything should be measurable. Every single thing should be measurable. Let me give you a little sample off my resume. This isn't just for your investors. This is for you as well. As you're updating your CV, your resume, you should be able to talk about these kinds of things on your resume. These pop up and they stand out to people who are going to be prospectively hiring you. 15 successive quarters of marketing-generated opportunity target attainment, 700 million plus in pipeline, and $250 million in closed-won business. By golly, any CEO is going to be like, okay, this is a CMO who knows her numbers, who takes them very seriously, and knows the business contribution that she's made. So this is, again, just an example from my CV of what you can do to utilize data to advance your career. This is a total brag slide. I mean, this is something that I presented in my final pitch when I was working on getting this most recent job. I joined the company in 2018, and this is what happened when we enacted the right kind of demand marketing. This is just one factor, but it's an important one, and it's one that speaks volumes to CEOs. So just a little brag. So why we do what we do. This to me is like epic. This is why I love marketing, right? Sales is like going to Jacksonville, and we're like, we're going to Mom's for Christmas. This is the difference between sales and marketing. I would be in a bad spot mentally if I didn't point this out. I think that we've been talking a lot about job title, we've been talking about salary, but I do think, now that I've survived 30 years in marketing, a better measure, we've got job title and salary here, they're small parts. Free time, liking what you do is so important. Physical health, mental health, it's everything. The job that you have right now is just a fleeting moment in time. You're gonna go on, you're gonna have a new job, you're gonna meet new people, but your family, your mental health, your physical health, it's everything. So maintaining a balance is really the best measure of success. So to quickly wrap up, the best way to advance your career in marketing, in addition to balance in all things, try it all, be an A player, and obsess over data. Thank you very much.